Mildred Taylor's novel, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, is set in Mississippi in 1933. Her characters are subject to Jim Crow laws. As we read this novel, it is important to understand how these laws affected all the people of our country. The term Jim Crow originated in the 1830s, when a white performer blackened his face with burnt cork and danced a jig while singing the words to Jump Jim Crow. After slavery was abolished, white Americans used the term Jim Crow as a racial slur. By the end of the 1800s, acts of racial discrimination were referred to as Jim Crow laws and practices. Before the turn of the century, many laws were enacted that limited the freedoms of black Americans. These laws were used to harass, intimidate, and even murder black Americans. White men and women participated in violence that targeted black Americans. Laws and ordinances required that blacks had separate drinking fountains, separate waiting areas, and separate entrances into businesses. In many states, it was against the law for white and black children to attend the same school. Between 1889 and 1930, over 3,700 black men, women, and children were reported lynched. Hundreds of other lynchings and acts of violence went unreported. In 1955, 14-year-old Emmett Till, who was visiting Mississippi from Chicago, made the mistake of whistling at a white woman. 3 days later, he was kidnapped from his uncle's home, tortured, shot in the head, and thrown into the Mississippi River. When his mother saw his tortured body, she insisted on having an open casket so the world could see the effects of Jim Crow violence. The murder of 14-year-old Emmett fueled a movement that would help bury Jim Crow. 100 days after Emmett's murder, Rosa Parks refused to move to the back of the bus and was arrested, fingerprinted, and booked into jail. Black Americans, tired of being treated unfairly, demonstrated in rallies and marched for their rights. Battles were won. Change, while slow, was happening. Rosa Parks, along with all black Americans, won the legal fight to be treated fairly. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of freedom for all was possible. As we read Taylor's novel, remember that civil rights were a long way off for the Logan family. They were still deep in the heart of Jim Crow country.